Thank you, Council. Ladies and gentlemen, staff, we'll begin the meeting right at 6 o'clock. 6 p.m. tonight. Thank you very much for your attendance. This evening's meeting may be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel. We begin this gathering by acknowledging that the land upon which we meet is the traditional territory of First Nations people, who have a long-standing relationship with the land, water, and regions of Southwest Middlesex. We convey our respect to our First Nations neighbors and thank them for their contributions to our culture, community, our past, and partnerships in the future. Council, I'll ask if any member of council is declaring a pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. I'll give you a second there. I'll look for hands. I don't see any. We can move on to the third item on our agenda. Any additions to the current agenda that's been circulated before you? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion that the regular agenda of council dated January 24th, 2024 be accepted as presented. Mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Choi. Seconder. Councillor McCollum. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. I've been advised by the clerk that there are no delegations or presentations. Is that correct, Alan? Thank you. The consent agenda is before you, fairly light. There's a set of minutes in there and municipal correspondence from 4 Counties Transit. That was an interesting read, Mark. Enjoyed that. Would anyone like to ask any questions pertaining to these or have them pulled out? Yes, Councillor Vink.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Yeah, maybe we could get the 4 Counties Transit pulled out.
Sure. Yeah.
I think there was some budget figures in there.
Okay, we can do that. We'll deal that. We'll put that in the appropriate spot on the agenda. We'll go into item number 12. And we'll have a discussion pertaining to that subject. The chair will entertain a motion that the council for the municipality of Southwest Middlesex receive the account agenda and that the 4 Counties transportation document be pulled into new business. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Vink, a seconder. Yeah, Councillor Myers, discussion. All in favor? Motion is carried. Let me see where we are. We have before us the quarter of revision in the McCann-Nemeth Drain 2023. We have George with us, and we will need acceptance of the recommendation that I be appointed as chair of the Court of Revision, and that Martin Vink, Mark McGill, Mike Scholdice, and Don McCollum be appointed to the Court of Revision for the McCann-Nemeth Drain. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? Don McCollum, seconder for that. Councillor Vink, discussion? All in favor? And part of that motion, gentlemen, the council adjourned its regular meeting to sit as a Court of Revision at 6:04. Is that okay with you, Don? And Martin? Okay. Yeah, I missed that one phrase, but that's good. Yeah. Did we call that for a vote? We did we? Yeah, we did. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we are in Court of Revision. We will call the Court of Revision to order at 6:04. Those appointed to the Court of Revision, is there any member of the Court of Revision declaring a pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we will get into the meat and potatoes of this on the McCann-Nemeth Drain 2023. Spriest and Associates will present an engineering report, and we're pleased to have George with us. Is it George, yep, there you are back there. Yeah, George, thank you very much for joining Southwest Middlesex. Council, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, so tonight we're here for the Court of Revision for the County of Nemeth drain. I am not aware of any appeals or concerns. None have been raised to me, and I would ask the clerk to clarify if the municipality has received any appeals.
Through your worship, the municipality has received no appeals at this time.
Okay, thank you.
So based on that, I would recommend that the schedule be accepted as presented.
Okay. Are there any members from the court that would like to ask questions to George? Seeing none, there are no deliberations. There's no changes that are being requested. Council, we will make a decision. The recommendation before us is that the assessment as levied by Street and Associates dated October 6, 2023 and adopted by provisional bylaw 2023/04/84 to pay for the drainage works known as the McCain-Nemeth Drain 2023 be confirmed. If one of the members of the court would like to move that, please. Martin, seconded by Dawn. Any discussion? All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. The Court of Revision is adjourned at 6:06. Okay, and Alan, I think that previous motion addresses us going back into yep.
Your worship, could we get just a quick resolution to reconvene in that regular meeting?
Yes, okay. That resolution to reconvene as a council. Mover and a seconder, please. I'll second it. Moved by Dawn, seconded by me. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Six B, zoning amendment, P1-2024-22923 Thames Road. We're delighted to have Alana with us this evening. Council had a brief introduction to Alana in December. I think it was around December 13th. And tonight she is meeting with us in a professional capacity. And we're just delighted to have her here. And at this point in time, Alana, I'll hand the floor over to you. Just a few moments to look after the technical aspects of the report. Alan will deal with that. Looks like you're ready to go there, Alana.
Thank you, Mayor. So the purpose and effect of the temporary use zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone the subject lands from the restricted agricultural A3 zone to the temporary site-specific restricted agricultural A3-1-T zone in order to permit 2 single detached dwellings on the subject lands for a period not to exceed 2 years while a new residence is being constructed on the land. The existing residence would be removed upon the expiration of the 2-year period or the occupancy of the new single detached dwelling, whichever occurs first. The subject lands are designated agricultural area within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and zone restricted agricultural A3 zone within the Southwest Middlesex zoning bylaw. Section 39 of the Planning Act allows municipalities to authorize the temporary use of land, buildings, or structures for up to a maximum of 3 years, and also stipulates that municipalities have the authority to require the owner to enter into an agreement and to post security. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed use is in conformity with the policy documents and do not have concerns regarding compatibility, servicing, access, or impacts on surrounding agricultural uses as a result of temporarily allowing 2 dwellings on the subject property. The proposed dwelling appears to meet the requirements of the restricted agricultural A3 zone. Staff are in a position to support the application and are satisfied the existing dwelling will be demolished within the 2-year period or until occupancy of the new dwelling as per the temporary use agreement. A bylaw has been drafted for council's consideration. In regards to agency and staff comments, no objections or concerns were identified. One public submission was received after the writing of the report provided by Mr. May. Staff have responded and it appears there are no more concerns. It is staff's recommendation that the temporary use zoning bylaw amendment application be granted and that the owners enter into a temporary use agreement with the municipality to ensure that the removal of the existing residence occurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. There is a process that we must work through, council. The second identifying section of the agenda is the applicant's remarks. I don't see Dave May in us, and I don't believe he's on the screen. Is that correct? The applicant's not with us?
Your worship, if anybody in the public would like to make a comment via Zoom, they can jump in now. Otherwise, we'll
Okay.
move on.
Yep.
Your worship, if I may, I want to explicitly state that the comments provided by David May do constitute an objection. However, they have been resolved.
I understand that. And
Yeah.
I saw the communication prior to the meeting. Alan, thank you for that. And that's good. It's like nice to see objections resolved. I commend staff for that. Applicant's remarks, I'm interpreting that as none. Alan, oral or written submissions, there have been none. Council discussion, are there any questions that you'd like to ask Alana? Okay, we are at the point where we certainly make a decision. There's a recommendation before you. And I understand there's a significant number of conditions that have to be met there too. Is there not about 26 of them, is there, or something like that? Long in that? No. Anyway, the recommendation is that the application for temporary use zoning bylaw P1 2024, which proposes to rezone the subject lands from restricted agricultural A3 to temporary site-specific restricted agricultural A3-1-T zone in order to permit 2 single detached dwellings on the subject lands for a period not to exceed 2 years while a new residence is being constructed. Council, the room seems quiet. I don't hear any objections. I will ask for a mover and a seconder that the recommendation be accepted. I see Don McCollum and I see Councillor McGill. We'll take those two. They're first spotted. Is there any, yes?
Your worship, just for clarification, the recommendation was actually two-part, and there was a second part that we enter in a temporary use agreement.
Yes.
I want to make sure that that is part of this resolution, and
Okay.
I'm standing first and second.
Yep, and that the owners enter into a temporary use agreement with the municipality to ensure the removal of the existing residence occurs. Councillor McGill, Councillor McCollum, you have no questions with including that in it? Okay, last call for questions. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Alana, thank you very much. Council, we are at number 7 on our agenda. We are about to go in committee of adjustment. The recommendation is the council enter into a committee of adjustment at 6:14 p.m. to consider minor variance application A1 2024, as well as consent application B1 2024, B2 2024, and B3 2024. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Choi. Seconder. Councillor McCollum. All in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in this committee of adjustment? Seeing none. The minutes have been circulated. The minutes of December 13th. I'll entertain a motion that the December 13th, 2023 Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes are received and approved by the committee. A mover and a seconder. Again, Councillor McGill, Councillor Choi. All in favor? Carried. Alana, could you advise council of the purpose and effect of this application?
Thank you, Mayor. So the purpose and effect of application for consent B1 2024 is to sever a residential parcel of land for the purpose of creating a residential lot. The subject lands are designated residential within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and are zoned a site-specific residential second density R22 zone. The lands currently contain a semi-detached dwelling. The parcel to be severed would contain one unit of the semi-detached dwelling, and the parcel to be severed would also contain the other unit of the semi-detached dwelling. Residential intensification with access to full municipal services, as well as a range of housing types within settlement areas, is encouraged by the provincial policy statement, county official plan, and the Southwest Middlesex official plan. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed severance to create one severed lot and one retained lot for residential purposes is consistent with the provincial policy statement and both the county and Southwest official plans. In regards to agency and staff comments received, the manager of public works advised the applicant must provide confirmation acceptable to the manager of public works demonstrating individual connections of each lot to municipal services. An entrance permit is required for each lot and must be submitted by the applicant. The drainage superintendent advised this property is in the watershed of the Glencoe outlet drain. However, its drainage assessment adjustment will be addressed in the ongoing engineer's reports. All other agency comments advise no objections or concerns. No public comments have been received to date. Staff recommend that the consent application be granted subject to the 9 conditions noted in the report for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. Are there any applicants present that wish to speak to this? And don't believe I think we're okay there, Alan. Oral or written submissions, Alan, on this?
No, your worship.
Okay, thank you very much. And committee discussion. Are there any questions you'd like to ask Alana in regard to this matter? We are at the point where we make allow committee decision making is on the last item on the agenda. You have heard the recommendation. Yes, Alan.
My apologies, your worship. I'm going to confer with the planner just for 1 second
Okay.
before you move to the next
All
line.
right, sure can.
Thank you very much, your worship. Please continue.
Okay, so we have gone through oral written submissions. There are none. Committee discussion. Last call. There is none. We are at the point where we must make a decision, council, that the recommendation as printed be approved by council subject to the 9 conditions. That application for consent B1 2024 submitted under section 53 of the Planning Act, which proposes to sever a residential lot with a frontage of approximately 45.6 feet on John Street and an area of approximately 7,792 square feet from a property known municipally as 237 John, Glencoe be granted. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? Yep. Councillor Myers, Councillor Choi, and that was subject to conditions, of course. Any discussion? Yes, Martin, please go ahead. I'll have to ask staff for that. Morrow is available to perhaps answer that. Morrow, could we lean on you for that?
Yeah, typically with each individual lot, it does require a separate connection, but since he's now wanting to sever, we want to confirm that he has separate connections for each lot because originally it was just one lot. So he'll need to provide confirmation that's been done.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Recommendation is before you. Is there a mover and a second? We've got that. Yeah, we've got that. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Carried. The next order of business is B2 2024 241 John Street. Alana, could you advise council of the purpose and effect of this application?
So the purpose and effect of application for consent B2 2024 is to sever a residential parcel of land for the purpose of creating a residential lot. The subject lands are designated residential within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and are zoned a site-specific residential second density R22 zone. The lands currently contain a semi-detached dwelling. The parcel to be severed would contain one unit of the semi-detached dwelling, and the parcel to be retained would contain the other unit of the semi-detached dwelling. Residential intensification with access to full municipal services, as well as a range of housing types within settlement areas, is encouraged by the provincial policy statement, county official plan, and Southwest Middlesex official plan. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed severance to create one severed lot and one retained lot for residential purposes is consistent with the provincial policy statement and both the county and Southwest Middlesex official plans. In regards to agency and staff comments received, the manager of public works advised the applicant must provide confirmation acceptable to the manager of public works demonstrating individual connections of each lot to municipal services. An entrance permit is required for each lot and must be submitted by the applicant. The drainage superintendent advised this property is in the watershed of the Glencoe outlet drain. However, its drainage assessment adjustment will be addressed in the ongoing engineer's reports. All other agency comments advise no objections or concerns. No public comments have been received to date. Staff recommend that the consent application be granted subject to the 9 conditions noted in the report for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. There's the applicant does have an opportunity to give his or her remarks electronically if they're so inclined. I do not see any. I think the chair will move on. Any oral or written submissions, Alan?
No, your worship.
Thank you. Council, committee, is there any discussion you would like to enter into? Seeing none, the committee decision is there. The recommendation is before you, which includes the 9 conditions that must be met. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Scholdice, Councillor Haggett, discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Alana, we're making you work tonight. 4C, consent application B3 2024. Could you advise council and committee of the purpose and effect of this application?
So the purpose and effect of application for consent B3 2024 is to sever a residential parcel of land for the purpose of creating a residential lot. The subject lands are designated residential within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and are zoned a site-specific residential second density R22 zone. The lands currently contain a semi-detached dwelling. The parcel to be severed would contain one unit of the semi-detached dwelling, and the parcel to be retained would contain the other unit of the semi-detached dwelling. Residential intensification with access to full municipal services, as well as a range of housing types within settlement areas, is encouraged by the provincial policy statement, county official plan, and Southwest Middlesex official plan. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed severance to create one severed lot and one retained lot for residential purposes is consistent with the provincial policy statement and county and Southwest Middlesex official plans. In regards to agency and staff comments received, the manager of public works advised the applicant must provide confirmation acceptable to the manager of public works demonstrating individual connections of each lot to municipal services. An entrance permit is required for each lot and must be submitted by the applicant. The drainage superintendent advised this property is in the watershed of the Glencoe outlet drain. However, its drainage assessment adjustment will be addressed in the ongoing engineer's report. The chief building official advised separate services be installed to the building prior to the stamping of the deed. All other agency comments advised no objections or concerns. No public comments have been received to date. Staff recommend that the consent application be granted subject to the 9 conditions noted in the report for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana, for that information. The applicant again must be asked if they wish to give some remarks. I do not see any sign of that. Again, Alan, oral or written submissions, there are none.
Yes, your worship.
And committee discussion, your opportunity to ask Alana any questions? Or Morrell? Seeing none. Committee decision is our next order of business. The recommendation has been circulated. And of course, it is subject to the 9 conditions. Is there a mover and a seconder? Ed Myers, Councillor Myers, and I missed over here was Councillor McGill, I think. We've got it. Myers, McGill, Allen. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. All opposed? Carried. And we have a minor variance, A1 2024 5439 Park House Drive. Alana, could you instruct council on the purpose and effect of this application?
So the purpose and effect of this application for minor variance A1-2024 is to permit the construction of a 187.3 square meter accessory building, which would result in a total maximum floor area of 306.3 square meters for all accessory buildings, whereas the total maximum floor area for accessory buildings in the restricted agricultural A3 zone is 200 square meters. The subject lands are designated agricultural within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and are zone restricted agricultural A3. The proposed accessory building would be used for residential purposes, being the storage of personal items. The variance was evaluated against the 4 tests of a minor variance. Staff is of the opinion that the variance meets all 4 tests, being that the variance is considered minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate use of land, maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan, and maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The proposed accessory building would be used for residential purposes and is not anticipated to increase the usability beyond what would be considered reasonable for a restricted agricultural lot. Additionally, the existing dwelling would continue to be the dominant feature of the lot. In regards to comments received from staff and agencies, the chief building official advised no objections. Building division will require septic location information prior to a building permit. All other agency comments advised no objections or concerns. No public comments have been received to date. Staff recommend that the minor variance application be granted for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. Again, we'll ask if the applicant has any remarks. Seeing none, we'll move it on. I have not been advised of any oral or written submissions. Committee discussion, council, the opportunity to speak to Alana Morrell on this. Seeing none, it is our decision to make. The recommendation is before you that the application for minor variance A1 2024 be granted. Moved by Councillor Myers, seconded by Councillor Haggett. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, council, for that committee work. Future meetings, you'll be advised by staff, and Alan, we will adjourn the Committee of Adjustment at 6:29. Council, may I have a motion to reconvene as council at 6:30? Mark? Seconder? Thanks, Dawn. All in favor? Carried. We are now back in the council. Item 8 on our agenda, staff reports. Kristen, thank you very much for providing council with this report. Would you like to introduce council to it?
Sure, I can. Just open it here. So council will probably remember that about 10 years ago, we underwent a study to set the water and sewer rates for a 10-year period that ended in 2023. So we need to either leave the rates as is right now or set an increase. So I'm proposing increases for each area for 1 year. And then we will incorporate another study into the DC study that we're currently undergoing so that any development charges that we can collect in the future can be incorporated into the analysis of the rates going forward. So ideally, the growth in the areas, each of the areas will help with some of these development in these areas.
Anything else?
No?
Okay,
Unless
well,
you have
listen,
any
I'll tell you,
questions?
that was a very interesting report to go through, and thank you very much for providing council with that, Kristen. Found it a very interesting read, and your suggestions are, I think, fairly conservative, looking at what might be coming down the road. So just to advise council that we're not going to lose our competitiveness for utilities on this. The prices are only going to go one way. This incremental increase reduces the shock of bigger things that may be coming down the road. Council, any questions you would like to ask Kristen in regard to this utility budget and rates? Yes, go ahead, Martin, please.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I probably asked this before, Kristen, but on behalf of the ratepayers, I feel I have to ask again. Administrative costs. I know it's further on. Warrensville is getting charged the same thing as Glencoe system, even though there's 5 times the users in Glencoe. And I know one of the reasons is when staff goes from the office here, you put down their time. I don't think that's right. And not only that, the rural ratepayers are paying part of this 46,000 because we are subsidizing Warrensville for 80-some thousand. So technically, when you add extra cost to Warrensville, it's actually all the other ratepayers are paying that extra cost. And so in essence, rural ratepayers are paying part of this cost. Warrensville isn't paying because they're being subsidized by over 46,000. So anyway, if you go further back, the workstation in Middlesex got moved to Glencoe. So when somebody from Warrensville or when I go into Glencoe or whatever, we don't get reimbursed for coming into the office. So why shouldn't staff be charged to Warrensville for going from Glencoe to Warrensville? I think, we talk about efficiencies all the time. The administration costs should be based on users.
I think you made your point, Martin. Kristen, you're certainly welcome to respond to this, but I think we have to bear in mind that the onus is on user pay on all this, and staff. We have to pay staff to do the work that is required to maintain and check these systems that are in your ward. Kristen, would you like to add anything to Martin's comments?
Yeah, I could just briefly, staff try our best to accurately categorize and adequately quantify and categorize what expenses we're incurring to be able to transfer to the utilities. But I'm hoping that the new payroll system that's coming in will add a little bit of ease to that as well. They'll be coding on their timesheets directly where the costs are going. But we are trying to make the costs of these utilities actually reflective of what they are costing.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Kristen. Councilor McGill, please go ahead.
Yeah, through the mayor to Kristen. So just so I'm sure I have this correct, the water rate the increase to the water rate that's proposed is 1.66%. And that wouldn't matter where you live, whether you were in Melbourne or Appin or Glencoe or Wardsville. But Glencoe sewer would be going up 5%. And Wardsville sewer would be going up 5%. But Wardsville sewer had to pull money from the general tax base quite a bit in 2023 and then even more proposed in 2024. So I'm not really sure that, I don't really think that's fair to the rest of the people in Southwest Middlesex, especially the people out in the country that, you know, have to put in their own septic system.
If I could.
Yes, go ahead,
Uh,
Kristen.
So I'm just, I realize we do probably need to make some bigger decisions in the future about these systems and the rates that we're paying. I'm looking now with this report to set them for 2024, and then we can bring back a bigger report with the development charges so that we could, you know, set the rates for a longer period of time. So
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it's Warsville is a high maintenance system. Morrow, am I off in categorizing Warsville? Is it a higher maintenance system?
Through your worship, it's a different system. It's a small bore system, which does require a little bit more maintenance, but it also, there's not as many users down in Warrensville to help compensate some of the costs.
Yeah.
So I think as we increase the users, then we generate a little more revenue, which would assist with the operating costs.
Yeah, and that's why development is so important to make us more competitive. Any further questions, council? Yes, Deputy Mayor, please go ahead.
Yes, so. Oh, absolutely, through your worship. So yeah, so that debenture actually includes two items. It's the twinning of the force main, and it's also a sanitary pump station for the Stella subdivision. Basically, there'll be a cost sharing with the developer because a pump station is required for that subdivision. So it incorporates some of those costs. And as for an update with the twinning force main, the surveying has been done. Flows have been presented to the engineer. They're now working on the design and sizing of the force main so that hopefully we're still on schedule for a tender in April, March of this year for the force main. Yeah.
Okay, yes,
If
more.
if I can jump in, your worship, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay, so I think that's why it's so important that we look at a 1-year situation right now with the implementation of the DCs that can come into factor here. There's going to be some contributing funds should council decide to go down that road and help out some of these situations as we move into bigger projects. And that's why we didn't want to set a 10-year rate and then reopen and revisit it again, just for clarity.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. Could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, it's CIO Henry.
Okay, yeah. I think we know why you're not here, Mike. We wish you well, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't even recognize your voice, so yeah.
That's been a common thing today. Thank you.
Yeah, take care of yourself. Okay, any further questions? Yes, Councillor Vink?
Yes, this is the first I heard of it, Mayor Allen, about the $200,000 erosion control tomorrow. So, how did that come about? If we could get a few more details on that.
Yes, absolutely, your worship. And in meeting with Aqua, and they provided their 2024 capital plan, they noticed that one of the lagoons has got some erosion situations, so they need to be addressed. And actually, it's a 3-part project, so that's only a third. So we're going to be doing a third every year to fix the erosion problem around the lagoon.
Yes, follow up, no problem,
So
Councillor
that
Vink.
means it's gonna cost $600,000 for the whole project.
It's a budget for now. It will have to go out for pricing, so we anticipating it may cost that much in 3 years. Yes.
Yeah, Council, utility costs, we know they're substantial, but we have to maintain these systems. And I think in terms of how council receives this report, they have to bear in mind that we must look to the future to make sure that these systems continue to operate efficiently. Any further questions? The recommendation is before you, the council adopt the 2024 utility budget and utility rates as presented by our treasurer, Kristen McGill. Is there a mover and a seconder to that? Okay, thank you, Councillor Myers. Councillor Haggett seconded that. Last call for questions. Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Motion is carried. Kristen, thank you very much. That was a difficult piece of work, and it was very well presented. Item 9, notices of motion. Are there any? Seeing none, we will go on to correspondence and petitions. The Glencoe District Historical Society is categorized on your agenda as 10A. There is a recommendation before you that the correspondence be received as information. Is there a mover and a seconder to that? Councillor McGill, seconder, please. Councillor McCollum. Any questions? Yes, go ahead, Mike.
Request to move some documents,
Mm-hmm.
and do we need a motion to approve that, or?
You can change the recommendation. That can be included in the recommendation, but I'll let Alan speak to that. Those documents are documents of Southwest Middlesex, and Alan may be better versed than I, but possession and ownership of those might come into consideration. Go ahead, Alan.
Yes, Your Worship. So yeah, Your Worship is correct. And then the ownership of long-term records is a very complex issue that obviously goes through centuries. So the request at hand may have been a little bit better received before amalgamation, but at this point in time with the record retention laws, I would recommend that if we were going to do anything about this, is that we look into the costs and the logistics of moving these records, and actually, to be frank, even the legality.
Okay.
So if
Then that being said, Alan, we could ask staff to come back with a report. Is that correct?
yes, Your Worship, and that'd be totally fine.
Okay. So Deputy Mayor Scholdice, I think I know your concern. If we modify this recommendation that the cost of transferring those records over to the Historical Society be investigated, the logistics and the legality, and then that information will be brought back to council for council to make the decision. Would you be so inclined to accept that? Okay, so Alan, if you could briefly, very briefly amend that recommendation to include a report from staff shall be forthcoming in regard to the logistics and legalities of moving those records. Okay, we're good to go. Yes, Councillor Choi.
Thank you. I wonder if you would be in favor of a friendly amendment to also include a report coming back from staff about storyboards in the two parks that they're mentioning.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, thank you much. There's an amicable change there, Clerk Allen. You got that? Okay, and the Historical Society have got no doubt some pricing on those the sign applications in terms of the historical signs. There is lots of information available, and I too have some of that information as well. Okay, the recommendation has been amended. That staff bring back a report on the request for the records and the storyboard on Simpson Park. It's been moved and seconded. Yes.
And Little Kin Park.
And Littleton Park as well. Yes, okay, of course. Thank you, Councillor Troy. We have a mover and a seconder. I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Ellen, for that. And, thank you, staff, for putting that on your work schedule. I know you're burdened now, but one more on the file. Item number 11 on the agenda is unfinished business. I don't believe there are any. New business. Councillor Vink has requested the four counties report be brought forward to council for discussion. And that too was an interesting report. Councillor Vink, if you have any questions, we have representatives of that committee at the table. Maybe they can answer those questions. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. First of all, I noticed the wages, there was a budget of 38,682 and it ended up 58,000. That seems like quite a difference. And then I see we have cost of $40,000 to the taxpayers of Southwest Middlesex. I wonder if the two members could also mention or tell us. I understand that West Elgin has another system of their own. That's in, I don't know if it's considered competition or not, but if that's the case, I wonder if we, in the future should be looking at this because obviously we're bearing the cost of the deficit by far over everybody else.
Yep, we are, and 66% of the ridership is Southwest Middlesex. That has to be taken in consideration, and those are 2023. And yes, expenses were approximately 25% over budget. Mark, any input on that?
Yep, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Yes, I think West Lawrence ridership in the past, farther back than this chart goes, that shows the ridership, it only goes back to 2021, but at one time, West Elgin was the largest user, and that's why they administer this. And now we're the largest user. Part of the reason for that is that the not the municipality of West Elgin, but the health clinic that's over there in West Lorne has their own bus. It's not as big as ours. It's a large van, and that, yes, is providing transportation in West Elgin. And so yeah, and of course the the payroll going up. You can see if you look at the grand total for the ridership, it was 508 in 2022, and in 2023 it was 788. So it was up about 50%. So that's one of the reasons for the payroll going up. And I've looked at these financial reports we get, and I don't think West Elgin is charging any kind of a administration fee, and yet they're doing the administration, so that's good for us. There was a lot of work involved this year because we got a new bus, which we're going to get to ride in on Tuesday, those of us that go on the municipal tour. And that had to be tendered out, and then they had to look after getting the signage on the bus and getting a camera system installed on the bus, selling the old bus. So there's quite a bit of work involved to administering it.
Okay. Yeah, any follow-ups? Councillor Vink, go ahead, please.
Mayor Allen, thank you. So any idea what the our budget deficit was proposed? Because this will have to come from somewhere in our budget. Like I'm thinking it might have been 10 or 15,000, now it's 40,000.
And I'll ask Kristen to address that question to you, Martin. Thank you.
It was 18,600.
So it's an extra 20 from now.
Mhm.
And where, and can I ask?
Ask where she'll find that money. She can
Yeah.
magic. Yeah. Yeah. But she may not have an answer immediately for you.
Yeah, I usually will take a look at where we stand overall at year end to see if we need to move items in and out of reserves or anything like that. We may have surplus in other areas that will help offset that.
Okay. I can assure you that Kristen will find that money. Any further questions? Yes, Don, please go ahead.
Yes, they say that the West Orange not charging for any of this, but if you look at grants from other municipalities, it's 49.4. And if you go down to, let's see. Down to the deficit again, there's $61,335. So there's a difference there of $11,000, I think it is. So that's what it would be. Their charge. Yeah. Pardon? Yeah. And so ours went from 200 and our ridership went from 287 to 522, which is the biggest increase going. And so the bigger increase it goes, the more the subsidy we have to pay. And right now we're subsidizing each rider $70. It costs $77.70. But that's each one of the municipalities. But with it going down like that, West Elga was going to pay less for their administration.
Yeah. Any further questions? Okay, Martin, I think we've addressed this. Is there any other item of business pertaining to that or any action that you wish to take?
Yes, Mayor, I just wondered, I don't know what everybody else feeling is, but since West Elgin has a transport system from the medical center, should we be looking at start running our own with Newberry and maybe, well, Brook Ellison's showing an interest? I mean, maybe we could do a study sometime to see the cost implications of
Yes.
that.
It's a great program. We don't want to compete with that particular program. The focus there is that they have the type of transportation that can take an individual with mobility problems onto that bus. And I know there are people that ride that bus with no mobility problems at all. And perhaps that could be a target market that you could access as well and run that very effectively. I'll tell council right now that the other end of the county have participated in transportation programs. They are connected from Thames Center right to Strathroy. Southwest Middlesex was left out of that equation, and I've asked that many times at county council, but to no avail. So perhaps that could be, I would welcome the opportunity to discuss it. Transportation in Southwest Middlesex is a problem. There's lots of people who, for one reason or another, do not have the luxury of driving a car, and it would be, and there'll be more. That demographic is going to grow substantially. So yeah, we could look at it sometime. I'd love to talk about it in future planning sometime if we have the right forum, Martin. We can't do it at this council meeting, but I would love to see that discussed. And I think it could be something that even the Economic Development Committee could investigate and bring to council as a recommendation too. Okay, so I can look at that end of it as well. So I think we could probably do something like that. Okay, thank you. We can move on. Item number 13, council, county council and conference updates. Yes.
Your worship, could we just, as a base resolution, just get it accepted for information, the agenda of the.
Yes. Yes, the consent agenda. Yep. Yep. Have it resolved, council, that we have approved the consent agenda following the discussions on that item that was taken out. Is there a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Scholdice, Councillor Vink. All in favor? Carried. County Council update will be forthcoming. Conference updates will be forthcoming. Are there any announcements, Council? Seeing none. We are required to go into closed session, item number 15, as per section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001, to consider the following. And Alan, can you clarify?
Yes, your worship. So the following in this case would be the previous minutes as well as items protected under 2392.
Thank you very much. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? Okay, Don McCollum, Councillor Choi. Discussion? All in favor? We'll hand the gavel over to Mike and we will turn the microphones off in due time.